Welcome to What About Us, the podcast, where I, Bronagh, will be introducing you to some of the people behind the What About Us musical and movement. The What About Us project aims to give a voice to a generation who are demanding change, using the international language of music and the hashtag #WhatAboutUs ripples social media platforms. The protest musical, which premieres in Dublin next year, addresses issues such as conflict, greed, human trafficking, and mental health, all wrapped up in a beautiful love story. It is being created using a collaborative process with musicians and artists from all over the globe. The storyline is being workshopped in Dublin, Jerusalem, and Palestine. The movement reaches a wider audience and addresses a broader range of societal issues, including climate change, the environment, war, and human rights, which affect the youth of today and tomorrow. It's an ambitious project, but one with a rapidly growing following. In today's episode, we speak with Shoshi Israeli, who's one of the co-founders of What About Us. She's also one of the creative driving forces behind the musical and the movement. Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Shoshi Israeli. I was born in Jerusalem. My parents are from Iran, they're Jewish from Iran. I was brought in Jerusalem and then I left to Spain. I'm a flamenco dancer and choreographer. And I'm married to a Dutch guy, he's a Christian, so we have Jewish Christian home. We have 3 children, 2 live in Jerusalem, in Tel Aviv, actually in Israel, and the eldest work with my husband in Spain. So I travel between Israel and Spain all the time. I work here, and now I'm in Israel, and I work in Spain, and and I work, of course, I'm part of What About Us for the last 2 years. It was two summers ago that I met Stephen.
Brilliant.
And this is the main thing I do now.
Yeah, that's amazing though. Would you say you grew up in the conflict?
Yes, of course. When I was born, Israel was a very very young state, and I think the first war I met was when I was 5, the 6-day war, 67, and a lot of wars, and we lost a lot of people, even relatives, in the war, and. Yes, it's a conflict and peace as well, because throughout the years I worked with a lot of peace projects and art, flamenco mainly, and I saw friends coming along, and not just conflict. We try as artists and as peacemakers, we try to be above the conflict, and even in time that the bombs were falling on us, like 2 weeks ago,
Oh my gosh,
we
wow.
called our friends and we tried to keep it spirit high and to think like human, not to be part of the conflict and think that there are human beings on both sides and everyone is getting killed and hurt, and to connect to the human part, less to the conflict. So yes, I think all my life I was part of the peace.
And how do you think that affected you as a person?
People pray before they go to bed.
Yeah.
And we pray for the peace of the world, and I had it from very very young. And when I was a child, I felt that something is not right. You can't put your finger, but you can see that it's not right. Why war? Even though there weren't television, we didn't have so much. There was no social media, but you can feel things as a child. And I think from very young, when you see the loss of human beings very near in Jerusalem, it was really near to our house, Bethlehem, and it was like around the corner, the war. And now it's again around the corner because now the bombs comes on top of us. So I think you feel that it's wrong, and then when you grow up and you hear that it's not just here, and that's not the people, and it's just something that we can't control. So you really want to be part of a movement that will change it, that will see the other person on the other side. We are not machine; we are human beings, and as I said, I think artists, they can sit and play something together. They would never have a fight over a tune.
Yeah.
You can disagree, but artists, not because we are above the human being, but you are working with a lot of arts. And now especially open to so many type of music that you can't say I don't love this culture, because it's a mix, and everything is remixed now, and in each tune there are thousands of tune and cultures, so it's very very natural and very right to connect the peace process and the peace movement and What About Us to music, dance, and musical. and with
Yeah.
a big movement behind, because this is the way you can really pass the message. And of course, with young people like you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it must have just been so hard for you though, because I mean, speaking from my own experience, I would have had a very sheltered childhood, whereas it sounds like you were really immersed in it and everything. So it must have been very difficult.
Yeah, and but on the other side, I was born to a very young, very interesting, multicultural country. There were Jewish from all over the world. In my street, there were people from Iraq, from Poland, from everywhere, and they wouldn't even speak. You know, the elders wouldn't speak the same language.
Oh, right.
So we as children had to connect our parents to the culture and the Palestinian. They weren't Palestinian Israel. You know, it was very open.
Mm.
Palestinian would come to our back garden. We had Muhammad and Fatima that would come every week. We bring the thing that they pick up from the trees, and we would exchange, and they would eat with us. There wasn't so much you're Palestinian and Israeli because it was so young and people didn't live in boxes then. It was open, and
Mm.
the acceptance of other people was in a different level, because
Yeah.
my parents are from Iran, and the Persian and the Arab culture is very similar. So if I sit with a Palestinian Arab, I feel very attached to him, to his culture, to his food, to the music. And I can sit with the Ashkenazi, a Jewish that come from Poland, and I would love him as a human being, and I can share the same religion. But in a cultural level, I would feel less connected than to a Palestinian. So, and in these days, when I was young, it was very clear and very like natural to connect to the culture that is next to you. If a person come from Morocco, a Jewish Moroccan, you would go to a Palestinian to do
Mm.
his shopping because it's the same market like in Morocco.
Yeah.
And there was no doubt, it was
Mm.
okay, this is life. And religion, yeah, everyone would be religious, but inside, and in my street we had a survivor from the Holocaust. The
Oh, wow.
He would go with a long coat and bread in his pocket. As children, we thought he was crazy. We weren't so nice to him. And then when you grow up, I didn't feel anything to this man. Of course, when I was a bit older, so of course we understood the story. But as a child, I remember myself when Muhammad and Fatima would come to our garden, and this Jewish that suffered in the Holocaust, I would go and hide behind Muhammad and Fatima because he was crazy. Not
Mm.
crazy, he was really sick from what happened there. He would scream, and all the children we would be very afraid of him.
Yeah.
So this is the paradox of our childhood. When you
Mm.
don't know, so you really attach to the culture and the thing that connect people, and you don't want to be like you are what you are, and you connect to the person that will give you the comfort and the cultural connection, and I think we lost it in Israel and all over the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think overall it's just seeing people past what they are, isn't it? Just accepting everyone and just,
Yeah, and be open
yeah,
to the
exactly.
person. And I think, what about us, that the only musical that want to connect East and West is the only musical that want to connect above the conflict, that it's the main thing. And musicians from conflict zone, but the idea is to connect cultures that they don't have in the daily life connection, and to show the same background. If you take now Palestinian and Israeli, of course, in the music level, it's totally connected. But now with all what is happening around, people are getting far. And if you tell them, look, the food is the same, the language is the
Mm.
same, the music is the same. We are in the same part of the world. We love the same country, so let's love it and be together in the same earth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're so
I
right.
think this is the main thing with what about us. And
So, how long do you think the issue is actually going on, and what exactly underpins it?
for me, it's from the day I was born. So it was there. But as a child, I didn't feel it as a conflict, because in the beginning it was the Arab countries, and then And Palestinian Israeli, and from my point of view, we would live together and we would share the market. As a child, I was in Gaza and I did shopping there and in Hebron, and it was open, everything was open. With the time, it was like closing, and I don't know much about politics, and I never
Yeah.
want to know so much, so I can't go there and tell you the exact dates. But the conflict, I think it wasn't from the beginning. It was created by the politician because it's very easy to control the pueblo, they say in Spanish, you know, the people. When you separate them and when you show how different and how bad they are,
Yes.
it's not a, for me, of course, now it's a real conflict, but it's,
Yeah.
if you just see the person on the other side, there is no conflict there. Because really, Palestinian and Israeli want to live in peace. They want to have food and happy with family. There is not, but yes, sometimes it gets out of hands. Yeah.
There's a lot of miscommunication out there and like misinformation.
Yeah, because what you see on the media is really the very, very extremist from both sides. You don't see the day by day, the collaboration, the hospital that Arabs, Palestinian, Israeli work together, and it's like existing one next to each other and together. So we don't see it, and I guess the conflict starts. It's all the time start on something in the past, and then you just forget about it. But yeah, I would say it's a combination of land, it's a combination of religion, combination of a lot of people that don't live here, then don't understand the situation, and they come to solve something, and sometimes they make it worse. You know,
Yes,
it's
I
like
get you.
mom
Yeah.
comes and there are two brothers, and no, just let them. If they would let the two culture or the two nations to sit and to start to talk. You know, look at Europe. You know, after these two big wars, now it's peace. Look at Ireland. You
Yeah.
know, because
Exactly.
I saw it, and there it was between the same. You know, the same pueblo, it's the same people they fight. It's not even Palestinian Israel, it's Irish against Irish, which is really, I saw a few documentaries because I didn't know so much about the Irish conflict, and I was shocked.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
No,
like
exactly.
brother against brother. It's what like in Spain, you know, civil war. It's really strong, and even in Spain in '36 they had civil war.
What is it like in Spain then by comparison?
About nobody talk about the civil war.
No?
It's like it happened now. It's really they don't the Spaniards is a group of people that don't go back. They don't like the Israeli that go and why. I think the Irish are the same. What happened? Why go like you did? Deep go.
Yeah.
They're really just okay. It happens, and let's go to the future. So yeah, they don't really talk about it so much. There are some issue about graves and who is a warrior, the people that were with Franco or the Republican, but it's really very in the edge of the news, and they don't really. It's not a conflict in the daily life.
Yes.
You
Okay.
would never know who is a Republic or who was with Franco. It's not an issue so much.
Yeah, and what encouraged you to move to Spain?
But why? Why? Because I lived in Holland with my husband for a while, and then we decided we want to live in a country that it's not his or mine, to have
Get
a
you.
fresh start. And we both love Spain, and my dream was to learn how to dance flamenco. So
Oh.
there's a lot of flamenco. I love flamenco. So for me,
Yeah.
it's like I can see every week a show, and yeah, dance a lot. And
Yeah, no,
yeah,
definitely. So I mentioned in one of my questions about whether or not you brought your children up in the conflict or were they somewhere else?
now in the last conflict, so we were all here in the last conflict, and I have my son and my daughter. They both went to the army. They
Oh, okay.
insisted to be in the army, but the condition was they don't have any direct contact with the Arab or Palestinian society, and yeah, they weren't. So they were in like special units that didn't have
Oh.
any direct contact. But anyway, they both live in Tel Aviv, and in
Hmm.
one of our Zoom meeting with Julie,
Yeah.
so suddenly they were bombing Tel Aviv, like 150 bombs fell in no time. So I left the Zoom and I went to Tel Aviv, like to save them. You know, it's like It's like if 150 bombs fall on Dublin, it's the center of Israel.
I got you. Yeah.
It was 2 weeks very tense because it was tense for everyone. And my child, she didn't go to the army. She's pacifist. She lives in Spain, and she was in the middle of the war, the last conflict, and she was terrified. She didn't want to go anywhere. We were like sitting in the middle of the night. Bomb fell next to where we were. We had to run to the shelter. I was used to it, even though I was shaking.
You would be terrified. You'd be
Yeah.
very anxious and everything. Like, you probably struggled to even sleep with it all going on for fear something would happen.
Yeah. And my families are all everywhere. One day I was in Jerusalem and bomb fell on the way, and I was with my mother. She's 80 years old, and we say, "What is that like?"
Yeah.
You are really not protected. It was so hard these 2 weeks, and of course that the people in Gaza will feel the same. It's just so stupid.
Yeah. And it must be
Afterwards,
really hard. Yeah.
yeah. And one day we decided to go to the beach because it was calmer. And then we had some bombs on the beach, like on top of us, and I was shaking. I said, let's go to the beach and meditate.
Oh
It
my
didn't work.
gosh. I can't even imagine what that would be like. I've never heard a bomb going off or anything. Like,
Shouldn't nobody should fear bomb. And I lived for 30 years in Spain, so I missed the last two wars in Israel. So for me, it was like this is still happening. It brought me directly to my childhood. People got killed there on both sides. Next to where my son lived, a bomb fell and people got killed. It was really in the middle of Tel Aviv. It's like middle of Dublin time the bomb fell. Yeah, it's really very strange that we still have war, in this century, and why.
yeah, no, absolutely. That would be terrifying. I can't even imagine it. Do you know that way when you haven't experienced it yourself, you can't even
So
picture it?
yeah, I don't, because it's like you can't. It's like the COVID, but a million times more. Because in the COVID, at least if you're at home and you put a mask, and it's like you don't have where. And even we were in the shelter,
Yeah,
so it's amazing. Just
yeah.
and for
And
both, for other people, it was really very, very over. It was over for me this experience, and in this. In the last conflict, there were a lot of riots inside the cities. We have like cities that they are combined between Jewish and Arab Israeli, and usually they live in peace. There are few cities like Akko and Lod, and we never had problem there. And this last conflict, it was really bad. They would hurt each other and a lot of fire. And it really made a big change in the civil society this time. And now everywhere, all the people try to talk about living together, that we are here to be together. And it's a big movement to put
yeah,
to calm the
yeah.
situation.
What would the riots be like?
Yeah, it depends if it's against the last prime minister. So there will be like very hippie kind because and pink and but inside the city it was very bad. There were like shooting and burning houses and hurting people and throwing stone at each other. Israeli and Palestinian, or Arab or Israeli, you can't blame. It was really bad, and I was thinking to go to Jaffa to have dinner the other day, and I decided not because it's not really calm. And
Yes.
before it was no problem to just walk everywhere, but I think that the civil society is stronger than a politician, and in no time, people need to eat, need to open their stores and their restaurants, and yeah, it's life wins. You have to take
Yeah.
the children to school and to eat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's crazy to hear that people are like actually out hurting other people. It's very
Yeah,
upsetting as well. It's just like, come on, can we all just get along? We are all the same.
yeah, but I think and now with the media, social media, the labels are getting even.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, like, do you think social media and the normal media are spinning the wrong narrative, or what would you think?
I think it's a very, very narrow narrative. I think that we just show what is wrong and what the other did wrong, and we should look at the things that are connecting the humanity.
Mm,
It's the only way to go out, and like it's the global warming. If we don't work together, it's one war. It's one place.
Yeah.
Israel is one place. Palestine, Israel. It's the same earth. We have to think that it's one, and nobody. It doesn't belong to me or to you. We have to work here together
Yeah.
and to see. Of course, I have my home, and you have your home, and you have your culture. Respect it, and we have to work together and to show. And really, there are so many things that are really the same between the two cultures that we really have to make it strength, and to give the young generation like you the way to work with not the conflict, but with
Yeah.
what we want to achieve as a culture.
Yeah.
What do we want? We want to be, to live in a, because what we did, it wasn't so good for you, our generation. It's
No,
not the best what
absolutely.
we left. Now it's getting worse, everything is like a mess. So we have to clean it. It's our duty to clean a bit for you, that you get a better
Yeah.
world to deal
No,
with.
exactly. Yeah, that's the ultimate goal, is just leaving behind something better. And I think, it's I'm big into, the environment and protecting it and everything. That's kind of how I got involved with this and everything, that sort of way. But the difference with the environment and the war is, with the war you're actually like seeing people being hurt. Whereas with the environment, it's a bit hidden, that kind of way. Like, we're not seeing the actual damage to the earth unless someone actually goes and like gets evidence of that. So I think that's more of a reason to act quicker, isn't it? Just because we're seeing all this pain happening.
Yeah, and to really combine, between the two culture. But in Israel, there are a lot of peace movement that really do that, and they do marvelous work. They're part of the What About Us movement. There is a Combat for Peace, that there are soldiers from both sides that
Oh, okay.
decide to leave the violence behind, and they really work just for peace, and they do marvelous work.
Hmm.
There's another group that called Sulka, and they gather Palestinian and Israel to talk about this, face to face, human to human,
Yeah.
about issues, and they try to solve issues, and there are thousands of this organization. The only thing, What About Us will bring it to a bigger stage, and it will get to a wider audience, and it will be
Hmm.
like global. So here it's on the ground. It's in Israel, Palestine.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
The object of What About Us is like really to change the status quo in the universe, or in Earth, or to bring it to so many people that people will think. The idea of the What About Us is to bring a story and music and dance and staging that will, when the audience will go out of the theater, they will think.
Hmm.
They,
Exactly.
they,
Yeah.
they won't stay without questioning, and they won't be indifferent. They will have to question, and how we will change it. It will move from the moment they step the theater until the moment they leave. And we're talking about really, really very professional, marvelous music that it's creating. And the musicians are from all over the world, and of course from conflict area. And we
Hmm.
have Palestinian, Israel, from Spain, Australia, Turkey, of course Ireland. It's like a global movement, and because of the COVID, we worked online,
Yeah. No,
and a lot
exactly.
of
Yeah.
marvelous. I think we have 300, 400 pieces of music that is already created.
Oh, wow. That's amazing, isn't it? Wow.
It's
And
amazing, and so many colors, so many cultures, so many combination
yeah.
and languages. It's in Turkish, in Yemen, because I just from Yemen, and in Spanish, of course, and in English and Hebrew and Arabic. It's endless of cultures, and it will bring like a taste that we are multicultural, and you can be different but still love and
Yeah.
respect the other person. We don't have to be the same, all with long nails and pretty faces and perfect body shape. We can be
Hmm.
whatever we want, and we all
Yes.
have our. And please, respect our difference, and our gender, and our love, and our creation, and our. and our religion. You know, I'm a religious too, and I'm very proud of it. And
Mm.
I believe in God, and my husband is atheist. He's not
Yeah.
a believer, and his mother is a Catholic, and we are happy. We celebrate all the holidays, and it's okay.
That's brilliant. I love how you just summed all of that up with love and gender and everything. It's great. Amazing. And it's so true is the thing as well. How did you actually get involved with What About Us?
We have a mutual friend, Stephen and I. He's from Italy. He was my student for flamenco like 20
Oh,
years
okay.
ago. But he worked with the UN and he worked with a lot of dialogue between Palestine and Israel in the holy places. He wrote a few books, so he's really known in this area. And he has his own organization in Italy. And like I think 20 few years ago, we organized with UNICEF a very big workshop in
Mm.
Madrid with people from Gaza, from Israel, from conflict, but was really the very extremist. And the idea is to bring them to Spain and to show them that first it was a lot of dialogue and a lot of talking, but we show them that the culture, the flamenco culture, it really it's built on Al Andalus, of course, Arab influence, and Jewish, and of course what was in Andalusia, the Catholic, and to show that in Spain in the past there were the three religions lived together, and we can bring it back to the present. It's just it's us. And in this workshop, we separate the participant to dance movement, to singing, to percussion, and we would sing in few languages, and we would play percussion like Arab, Jew. It was like
Mm.
all multicultural, and then we asked each participant to bring something from his garden or from his what's something that is really for him important, and we took a very long thread and
Yeah.
a lot of colors, and we would dance with no shoes and colors on it with the movement. You know, everyone would play, and we would what we dance, what we learn, and in the end we hang it, and each one put his what he brought from his heart, and
Yeah.
it was similar. The Palestinian Israel, it was the same. Like the Spaniards brought something totally different, but the Israeli brought stones or shell from the sea or leaves, you know, olive leaves.
Mm.
And I said, look, even in this we have the same. And we hang it. It was beautiful. It was like 1 week. And in the beginning, it was very hard. People from Gaza didn't want to dance with me because I was Shoshi Israeli. I was Israeli. And by the end of the week, it was really beautiful. And we could talk. And so there I worked. The first time I worked with
Mm.
Enrico, our mutual friend. But then from
Yeah.
then I did hundreds of workshops in Spain, in Israel, and I had my school in Spain for
Mm.
flamenco with my students. It is the main thing I do, and of course my dancing group. And even when we would travel to perform, like we performed from India to Chicago, I don't know, 20, 30 countries. And all the time the idea was to take the flamenco and the culture and the musician in the place where we have been, and to connect, you know, to come and
Mm.
really to look what is like in
Yeah.
India, which is totally different culture. The India is really, you know, circular. It go,
Mm.
and the flamenco, it's like very dry. And how you connect this
Yeah. It sounds
and
really interesting though. It sounds like your body gets really in touch with the music. So that's how you kind of got involved. And then what do the workshops kind of involve?
in Jerusalem, the Jerusalem workshop, the idea, of course, we have this 80 musicians that worked online. So the idea is to now that in Israel we don't have COVID, is really to throw ideas to BandLab, to this
Okay.
application. The ideas are connected, of course, to specific scene that Des and Aaron brought, and then we are going to choose one or two ideas, and we will going to go to the studio and to start to develop the ideas.
Okay.
Uh, and then, of course, there's a lot of music that already was written. So then the music that we think that is good enough for a scene, it will be developed to this scene. And this is from the music point of view. And here we have, of course, a musician Palestinian Israeli working in the same space and looking for, not for conflict, looking for the tune that they're both like.
Yeah,
And
love that.
yes, it's really marvelous when you sit together, you never know who is who. And with the story workshop, so there are two organizations, Combats for Peace and Sulhas. So the idea is to Combats for Peace, their headquarters in East Jerusalem. They
Mm-hmm.
have a theater space. So we are going to work with the theater group of Combats for Peace. And they have the story in Hebrew, English, and Arabic. Each group, like the Palestinian, will read it with the Palestinian head and the Israeli, and then we will meet and we will discuss how they see, for example, the love story between Fatima, which is Muslim, and Mak, which is
Mm.
Jewish, and what do they think about the conflict, if the way the conflict in Jerusalem is written is strong enough. It's, I think, more than 50% of the musicians, they are professional, and they top professional.
Okay,
And
so yeah.
Combats for Peace, they're professional theater group. So here we work more with professional, but still they are not professional that they are like, there are a lot of young professionals, between 20 and
Yeah.
30. And we have part of the musicians that are older, but the idea is that there's a combination of ages, of gender, of course, but even if eldest musician will write something on stage, we will work with young artists
Mm.
on
Okay.
stage. But the collaboration is, yeah, is with not just very young. We have young, but
Yeah. And is there going to be any like dancing? Like, are you teaching your dancing?
we had a lot of workshop on the story for the last few months, the creative team, and there we brought up the ideas of staging of a choreography and movement for each scene. And of course, it won't be just flamenco. I was looking at the, you can look at it's beautiful Paris opera. They took hip hop and they combine it with
Oh.
opera for one of the scenes. And we were looking at Nina Bausch. I don't know if you know her, and Batsheva, which is the most important modern dance company in Israel, with
Mm.
Ohad Naharin, and there's a Pakistani dancer in London that does a combination between Kathak and modern, and he works with on the stage with big walls and with earth, and it's really beautiful. And then we were looking at what they would wear. So for me, Mac was with a skirt and without shirt and full of tattoos,
Yeah.
and the idea is really to bring it to the young generation, and the staging. We were just talking about ideas, but for me it's minimalistic. It's not a stage of musical. It's more like a wall, a
Mm.
light, something minimum, and to bring the minimum object to stage, because in the moment you bring object, you really have to work with it. You have to feel it. You have to bring it alive, and the approach is it's different. It's like to do a dance, theater, musical, and to work with a lot of modern dancing. And the first part is really beautiful and very soft. So I thought to bring a hologram. You know what is a hologram?
Oh,
A,
wow.
a dancer, a dancer is a
Yeah.
hologram, and we are talking about to put the social media on stage and to connect to the phone of the public. It's really the, I don't want to give you all the secrets, but it's really a musical. It's out of the box, and it's so many people all over the world work around it, and there are thousands of changes. It's a very vivid project, because I never worked in a project like that. That
Mm.
every day someone brings another idea, and we go with it and we check it and go back, and it's really a lot of work, but really interesting, and really with such a big change for the world. So for me, it's fascinating to be part of it.
Mm. No, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you done projects like this before?
I did theater dance. I didn't do musical, but it's very similar because I did a lot of work with the gay society in Spain. And we did a lot of projects like in Iran they kill gay people. So we did a lot of dance theater inside on the main stage in Madrid. And so it was the same, we built the story, we built the performance, we would dance barefoot on water and we will be
Yeah.
hanging from up. And really not just the idea is to really with your body and with what you have around to make the audience feel the
Yeah.
conflict, feel the what is happening. And yeah, I did a lot of projects like that. So but not in this not such a universe, a big musical.
Yeah.
Sometimes my legs are shaking, but I love it.
Your legs just want to get up and dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is, I feel like this is the first of its kind in a way, do you know? Like I've never seen anything else like this really. So I suppose when I first heard about it, I was just thinking like obviously great idea to do a musical and have a movement, but how does someone, come up with that? And why is that a more effective way to, I suppose, communicate it than, your usual methods like the media?
I think the media will be part of the musical, but the media is just a screen in the end. No? You
Mm,
sit alone in a room, usually with your headphone, and you are with yourself. So you can really explore everything, but it's you and yourself. In the minute that you are in a big or small theater and there is a human being next to you, and you hear is like wow, something happened. So it's a different thing. It's a human
mm,
energy and
yeah,
you connected to a human being in front of you and the things are happening in real time and on the beat, boom boom, it's like beat, it's like your heart,
yeah,
it's one heart in theater space and we're all connected to the beat of the heart, the beat of the music, the energy is the same. When you go on stage to bring the audience to the same peace of mind that you want to start it's work, and then in the moment you have the audience where you want and to lead them the journey
mm,
you want, and in the end you close this journey and you release them to the street with thoughts. It's major, it's you feel it, you hear it, you smell it, you touch it, it's different. And the idea that this experience will even start before the actual musical will start, it's really thinking out of the box, and it will go on like after. A lot of times when I did shows, and so what we did, the audience would clap and we would leave and we would run out and we will wait for the public in the foyer, in the entrance of the theater, and they would be shocked. We would go with a party that we left the stage with, the same party, the same music, pa 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 pa
yeah,
pa, to the foyer. And when they will go out, they will say, "We just left it there. Oh, they are here." And then suddenly you dance with them, and they can talk to you, and you break this wall, and it's the experience have to be different, and the
mm,
message has to break the status quo. And I don't think that the public has to come and suffer. No, they have to go through journey that will open their eyes, but with a beautiful story, beautiful staging,
mm,
beautiful movement, and on top, beautiful music and lyrics.
yeah,
And if you talk about a multicultural musical, which is not just in English, Irish or whatever Broadway, if you want to bring it, let's say, to Israel, part of the musical is movement. It's much easier in music. A big movement of opening your arms, it's happiness, because and if you close, it's sadness. And if you, I don't know, if you just do something with your body
mm,
strong, so it's like I'm not comfortable. And
yeah,
a lot you can say just with the movement and then with music and minimum lighting and minimum staging and open stage and really break the ideas of musical thousands of things and moving things. No, it's our body, our voice. You should see the opera, Paris opera with the hip hop, and now it's nothing on stage, group of people, a tribe, each one has his individual dance and they move together and on the beat and the combination. And this is the idea that we are different and we still can have marvelous. What about us?
yes. No, you're so right though. Like, I feel like, media and everything is amazing for, sharing a message, but I just don't think it sinks in about these issues. I think there is something to say for seeing things and also for showing a masterpiece as well. I mean, what was your reaction to first reading the story? What did you think?
I think it's really piece of art. I think Shifra is a brilliant writer, and I think the work that had been done and still we are doing it even get deeper and bring more layers up, and it's endless. The way she wrote it, it's really
Mm,
amazing how she combined the sea worlds and the jumping time. It's beautiful and connected the island to Jerusalem, and there is a lot of connection, of course. The conflict, we
mm,
could learn how the conflict was solved in Ireland and bring it to the Middle East. And I think yes, there is a long journey to do with the story, because every time a young artist read it, he has his very strong opinion,
yes.
and it's nice to hear what the young generation is saying and still keep the story solid, and still after hearing all the opinion, the creative team takes the ideas and put it in and work with it, and yeah, we change things and we add things, and this is the idea. And
Yeah.
yeah, the social media has a big part. It's really very, and a lot of issues that we talked about and we brought in, they were really like what the young generation, a lot of issues, of course, climate change, but more issues that they are like hiding underneath
Yeah.
the post up, and we really, they are part of it. Of course, not all the issue has the same peso, the same like importance,
Mm,
but a lot of issues are there, and a lot of issues, you maybe you don't really go deep, but the audience will feel them and they will have to think about them.
yeah.
The idea is just to open up and to make people aware of what is happening, and maybe there is a different way to do things. Maybe can make a small change in your house, in your neighborhood, in your community. It's not we don't all have to be very famous and go on
Mm,
big stages, just to change, to talk to your child, when he says
yeah.
something that is out, and be zero waste as much as you can, and eat less meat, not we
Yeah.
can't all be vegan, but at least just to be with awareness of what is happening. Every time, like my daughters would buy so many clothes, and now they all both went on zero waste, and so nice to see. They go to second-hand shop and they buy one shirt, and it's a process. And I
Mm.
think this is what we all have to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's not really about doing everything perfect. It's just being aware of it and trying to make changes, really, isn't it? How do you think people have actually taken to the musical and the movement? Like, what has the response been kind of from other people?
So in the beginning, we started with like in Israel person with just a note on Facebook.
Mm.
We use the social media
Yeah.
for good things, and I think we got like 200 musicians that were interested. And
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, and it was amazing, really. And then we started to build bands online, and a lot of music was created there. And then, of course, all the connection from Australia and Turkey, of course, Ireland.
Mm.
And then you see that there is like people are thirsty for a change, and especially artists,
Yeah.
they really just want to, the other one to play and to create. Creation is really above of destroying. The human being want to create. It's in our nature.
Mm.
And then we had like one Palestinian musician that he couldn't, because of the COVID, he couldn't go and have gigs. He couldn't leave his village behind the wall and
Mm.
come and work in
Yeah.
Israel. He was a musician. Palestinian agreed to do a concert for him, and we recorded in like no time on phones, music, and we broadcast. And we had on Facebook Live a concert with musicians that all the musicians gathered and give the music to to have I would say to collect money for him, and he got the money and he could feed his family till the COVID was over. And it's not just we talk, we really do things, and there are marvelous connections between the musicians that they know each other and they collaborate here and even online, between the countries. So I think people are really thirsty to be part of a movement that is different and that it's serious and that it's international. And I hope that the musical will be a big success and that it will change the status quo. And I hope that our generation will leave really a better place for your generation, for my children, for you, and that will make this place a better place for all of us.
Thanks so much for tuning into the second episode of the What About Us podcast. Be sure to follow all of our social media platforms at #WhatAboutUsRipples.